I'm playing my nylon string guitar today, and I've talked about this a little bit before. You know, I was just thinking about some artists that use nylon string almost exclusively. First one that comes to mind is Willie Nelson, but there's so many more. You know, he's got Trigger, it's his favorite guitar. It's sort of his one and only, I think. But it just strikes me as I've always thought it's interesting to play like a nylon string and play it like maybe country or blues. Like I noticed Clapton plays that on, I think he does a couple songs on Eric Clapton Unplugged. Tears in Heaven. But and I've actually done some illustrations of what it sounds like to play just like straight up like blues and E on a nylon string. For me, it has a certain quality to it that's different than you know, the grit we're used to hearing on an acoustic, you know, with a steel string. And for instance, would be like if you're just doing a regular. That kind of thing. You know, as I'm basically playing just a straight blues groove in the key of E, you know. So you can do that by, if you happen to have a nylon string around. If you don't, this lesson will hopefully be still valid. You know, something you can use on your acoustic, you know, scene. In this case, I'm just doing a regular, like a. So what that is just a 1 on the 2nd fret of the A string, and then starting out with that low E string. And then 4th fret of the A string, 3rd finger, and then slide up 1. So in slow motion, be something like. What I like to do is stay here and then go up. So check it out. And then that's sort of a general. You know, no real rules on any of this, but. I'll do something like that where I'll just stay on a, and then I'll go up. Got it? So that's just, you know, I'm working with just basically the 2 strings. I'm gonna include the D string in a second though. And then you could go. I'm plucking the E, A, and then I'm getting that high D string, 2nd fret, so it sounds like this. Now I'm gonna go up. So I'm basically substituting it. So now you got 2 ways to do it. And the reason for that is, you know, if you're playing the blues, it's nice to mix it up a bit, right? So if we mix those together, it would sound something like this. And then the next one a little different, I'll go. So you can vary those any way you want. You could do. I added a note, a Muddy Waters note. 3rd fret on the low E, and I bent it a little. Vibrato, right? So now you got 3 things you can do in the same movement, and I'm going to show you a higher one in a second. But mix all those together any which way you want, it would sound something like this. I'm just kind of going random. That's cool. So that's just open E, 3rd, and 2nd fret on the D. That's an octave. So it sounds like this. So all these little licks I'm showing you, I kind of think of them as, in the case of the blues, you know, blues you can use, I call it, as sort of vocabulary licks. They're just little licks you can count on and you can call upon, you know, as you're playing the blues. And so we've been basically in the key of E the whole lesson, which I think will stay in. Plenty to do there, right? See that? And the other lick I would show you, which I've gotten into this quite a bit on jimmydillon.com. I have a couple projects that I did. I should say products, actually. They're mostly three-hour lessons on acoustic blues, blues you can use, that kind of stuff. There's a bunch of them on there if you want to check me out. But in the meantime, you can add this lick to your arsenal, and with the other three I just showed you, I think you get some mileage out of it. So I'm just going to the 4th fret on the G string with my 3rd finger, sliding up, 3rd fret on the B string with my 2nd finger. So you get a 7th lick. You've heard that before. So if you add those to this, you can get a kind of a Now, the trick to that one is keeping that thumb going if you can. See, I'm keeping that dead thumb going. Kind of staying there, but I am sliding up. Got a little fancy there. That last lick was I was just doing, like, you know, when you tune your guitar, you go to the 5th fret of the B and just let that E ring out. Kind of a fun, it's another version of a octave E. So if you add that to this, that's kind of the, I think that's a little bit true to the example I was talking about with Clapton Unplugged. He does a bit of that, and just sort of staying there, and then I'll go up to that little 5th fret on the B. Pull off. So you're going from the 4 to the 2 on the G string, and then an open G. So the whole thing would be. And then back to. So there's a little lick for you, right? See how they all weave together. Now, I know I'm getting a little more advanced with it than I probably should, but I wanted to give you guys something simple that you can, you know, grasp onto and hopefully shine some light on just basic E blues. And then something a little bit more advanced, because I like to get you to stretch out a bit, right? You can always slow it down and go back and listen to it. So right now I'm just going to walk out with that little blues groove and see where, I'm not sure where I'm going to go with it, but I'll try to utilize the exact phrases I just taught you, and I'll start out real slow, and then I'll move it up speed, and you'll see how it changes when the tempo picks up a little bit. It kind of gets a little more, I don't know, a little more salty in a way, you know, when you're getting after it. So check it out. You remember that, right? Just that little Jimmy Reed. I'll go up to the high one and I'll get that low bass going. bounce that'll get that thumb. So if you take all those licks and you kind of randomize them, throw them through the blues blender. That's funny. And because there's, again, with the blues especially, there's no hard, fast rules. We got to do it this way, you got to do it that way. I hate all that shit anyway. I was talking to somebody today, a friend of mine, one of my students actually, and there's this band called Larkin Poe. If you haven't checked them out, I think they're two sisters, and they're just really, really awesome. And one of them plays like a lap steel. It's not a lap steel. It's a kind of a resonator with a pickup in it, and then the other sister, I believe, just plays either a Strat or acoustic. But they're wonderful. And what the interview was basically about was they didn't study music formally per se, which that resonates for me because I'm kind of a jungle player. Just sort of watched and learned and listened to a lot of records actually. And then she said that when you take something in that way, it kind of gets inside you, like gets part of your DNA, and you know it by heart, which I think there's a reason they call it by heart, because it means that if you know something, literally by heart, you know it without any kind of sheet music or any kind of lyric sheets, or God forbid one of those iPads. I don't know. I can't do that live. I just can't. I got to know the song or just play it. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to look at a teleprompter or any of that shit. I'm just not. But that's just the way I came up. And nothing against people that do, but for me personally, I don't do very well with that situation. And I know there's times when you almost have to have it. But even if I'm in a session and I got some sheet music or whatever, I'll try to learn it by heart before I actually record it or play it. Because for me, I just play better when I can just know it without looking at something else. I don't know, maybe it's just me on that one, but that's the way I learn, that's the way I teach, and that's my story. I'm sticking to it. So there was a little blues lesson with a nylon string guitar. This is my beach guitar, but it's really a special guitar actually. It's a great axe. It's about, I think it was built in 1972. Masuru Motano is the guy that built it. It's built in Japan actually, but they made some beautiful guitars over there. So there's my E-Blues. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you down the road.